My name is Kiki. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Switch. Switch is a live audio speed dating app. We're going to be launching specifically in Atlanta in January 2025. So if you guys would like to wait list, you guys can do that after the event over there at that table. So I'm super excited. Thank you guys for coming. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the panelists, and then we're going to get started. We're going to get into it for sure. All right, so we have Ibby Aero-Malaran, Nigel Marcellus, Shay Primus, and Kelvin Troy. We're going to start with you, Shay. Let's go ahead and get some introductions. And how did you guys get into this space of love, connection, and dating?
Hi, everyone. I am Shay Primus of Upper Echelon Matchmaking. I am a certified matchmaker and dating coach. And how I got started in the space is college. I was just the person people would come to, like, do you know anybody who has a truck? Oh yeah, like I'm that person. I'm a connector naturally. So being that, I went to Clark Atlanta here, and I'm a Delta, so I have a big network from the HBCU. Yes, okay, Sorora's in the house. Just having a big network, right? And I continue to build on that and continue to be a connector. So, of course, and I'm also an HR consultant. So moving into the matchmaking space was great because I already had a big network to begin with, and so I just began to connect people from my network. I do love. It is, and obviously it's my field, but I've been doing this work for almost 10 years now. So, yes.
Beautiful. Nigel?
Hey everybody, my name is Nigel Marcellus. Currently right now I'm getting my PhD. I study Black love, so I just turned in my dissertation too, like a week ago. So, I'm like really getting close to being done. But for me, I just love love, just like what you said. Like I love love, I love relationships. I feel like so much of my life story is built off the relationships I've had platonically, romantically, regardless of like the different people. So I just love love, I love helping people, and I find love and healing just so important. So I dived into the work just to help other people learn how to love themselves and how to love other people better.
I love that. All right, Ibby?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ibby Aero-Malaran. I'm a licensed therapist and a dating and relationship coach. I got into the space due to my own dating traumas and those of my friends, my coworkers. I was working at a bar at the time, and it was just a lot of the same old song that I kept hearing. So I went to school, got my master's degree, wanted to become a therapist, and in the meantime, I decided I would coach as well. I'm also getting my PhD in social psychology. I'll be graduating in May with Nigel.
Oh, there we go.
And I'm studying healing, avoidant attachment.
Nice.
All right, Kelvin?
All right. Hello, everybody. I am Kelvin Troy Johnson. I'm a dating and relationship coach known as the Love Coach of Atlanta. I serve helping successful single-centered women to find some amazing men for dating, relationships, and love. I host singles events around Atlanta, so keep that name, Love Coach Atlanta, in your memory. But the reason I got into it, I come from social work, working with men. I was a men's counselor for 17 years. And while I was doing that, I started going out doing motivational speaking, and women kept coming up to me asking me, what about this guy? Does he love me? How do I know if a guy is serious about me? How do I know if this guy sees me in his future? And so I just got online, got on TikTok. I do most of my good talking on TikTok, Kelvin Troy. So fast forward, boom, we're here making it happen, and I'm excited about the conversation tonight.
Amazing. All right. We're going to keep the questions rolling tonight, okay? What do you think is the biggest challenge in the dating scene right now? Who wants to go first? Don't be shy.
Sure, I'll take it. Why
Okay.
not? I think one of the biggest challenges is everyone seems to be in self-preservation mode. Like, people are afraid of intimacy, heartbreak, and embarrassment. So people are approaching dating with a wall, like just kind of stepping into it and not going all the way in, playing games. I don't want to text first. Oh, he should text first. Da, da, da. It's just a lot going on, and I think because we live in this fear, and I think especially Black women and men right now, there's this lack of trust between each other. And I think that comes from the self-preservation. Mm-hmm. That's my answer.
I have an answer.
Of course he did.
Of course I do. I think the biggest problem is the paradox of choice. So your grandparents got together because they lived across the street from each other and walked a mile up the hill in the snow. So when they finished school, it was like, hey, John, you should just go ahead and marry Mary. She's right there, right? We know her family. We go to the same church. And so it was just easier because, Grandpa didn't have that many choices, okay? Fast forward to today, we have too many choices. And it's like a kid in a candy store. Why should you choose this one when you could choose this one, this one, this one, this one? And it's hard to stay focused on one when there's so many available. So then what do? You don't choose. A confused mind doesn't make a decision.
It's like FOMO, like
Yeah,
fear of missing
yes.
out.
Yes.
I
So,
think that, to your point, Troy, dating today is different because of online dating and social media, and they do kind of present these glamorous looking choices, but really it's filters and it's curated reels and it's, couples goals and it's, I'm on a trip with my boo, but you don't know that we just had an argument last night because I'm not going to tell you that part. It's not in my reel. So we have this false sense of what love really is and couples goals and love goals, and it's not real, right? And the minute something gets hard in a relationship, it's like, oh, I don't have to put up with this. This is settling. I'm gonna get out. But not realizing that relationships take work because they don't show you that part on the couple's goals. They don't show you the work. And so we bail out instantly. We'll just ghost you. We'll just not respond anymore. We'll just block you and move on with our lives. And we don't hold ourselves accountable to the work of a relationship. But, yeah, that's what I think too.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off that. I think when we talk about the foundation of love, a lot of people have never experienced love. I think we experience care and like a deep caring, but we never really hit love. And I think when we try to create love for ourselves and we try to create love, we don't have the necessary tools to do that because we never learned it. We don't know it. Our first introduction of love, whether it was our parents, whether it was our environment, they didn't really teach us how to love properly. So I think when it comes to like dating and trying to navigate that, we go off the toolbox in which we have, and we fall for all the smoke and mirrors for the choice, for the self-preservation, everything under the sun. But I think like deep down, we really just don't know what love is to us and what it looks like and what it's practiced.
Absolutely. I definitely think love is about learning. Like you have to go through processes of learning, whether it's different partners or just, you have to have experience. So you're gonna make your mistakes in one relationship and move on to the next, but that's how you find your next, hopefully your long-term partner. Next question, what do you think is the biggest misconception men and women have about each other when it comes to dating? There's a lot of misconceptions, so don't jump out.
Well, I'll just jump in and then y'all can come back. What I want to say is a lot of times, ladies, we think men should just know that we like them. Like, he should just know. I mean, I smiled at him. I clicked like on his picture. He should just know that I'm interested. He should just know through osmosis. He should be able to read my mind. And that is delulu. Like, let's just be honest. They don't just know. And also, I think we have to take into account there's the Me Too movement. There is social media shaming where you might try to holler at me and I just go live on Instagram and can you believe he just said this to me and did it? We do that, okay? It might not be you, but your friends do that. And so men are like gun shy now. Like if I say something to her, she might post me on social media. She might, it happens. We embarrass these people for just speaking to us sometimes, right? So now they're gun shy. And then we think they should just know. I've already covered that. So we need to, what I say, shoot our shot. And to me, it doesn't mean walk up to him and say, hey, can we meet on Friday for dinner at 7? It's just, I think you're cute. Pay him a compliment. You smell good. You look nice. That just opens the door and tells him, hey, it's a safe space. I can walk through the door if I'm interested. So I think we need to do more of that because we've been told they should just know, one, And they should do all the pursuing. They should do everything. They should come up to you, hey, excuse me, I saw you from across the room, and I like you, and I want to know if you're free on Friday. And they don't always know that they have the green light, right? Because how do they know that you're not in a relationship? How do they know that you find them attractive, that you are open, right? So I think we can take some of that off their plate and, make it more a game of two.
I want to add on to that too. I think like in general, when it comes to like gender roles and societal pressures, we really underestimate how much that really influences people. So I know, like for example, for a lot of men, we have this desire to want to provide and protect. And the way in which we have been taught how to provide is often financially. So I know a lot of men, a lot of my peers who say, I'm not dating until I reach a certain level of success. And then until I reach that level of success, they subconsciously don't feel like they're enough. They don't feel like they're worthy enough, and they don't feel as if, based on what they've seen, a lot of what you were talking about on social media, that like a woman's gonna like me if I don't have all of this and the rings and the cars and all of that. So I think we don't understand how much that influences how we date. And on the reverse, I don't think men are often aware of how much the idea of nurturing and women get into relationships and how much of that is tied into their worth. And I think because we don't understand that, it's such a disconnect. So we're constantly going against each other because we don't come to that commonality.
I agree. All right, Ibby?
I kind of want to piggyback off of that. With the men feeling like they have to reach a certain level of success, I think that's a misconception from the men, that we women want to be flued out on jets and we want all these diamonds.
And you don't?
That's a bonus.
And you
It's a
don't?
bonus.
That's
It's
not a
cherry on top.
it's not
But
a
like,
standard.
we want all these diamonds and the glitz and the glam and the Jaguars and all the things. And it's like, we want authenticity. We want attunement. We want someone to understand and see us for us. So if we like the jet, sure. But not all of us want that. We just want somebody to be there, to understand us, to see us, and that doesn't always include you being at this certain high level of success. We are okay to rock with you if we see a track record of you're trying, you're putting in some work, you're putting in some effort. It doesn't have to be this certain level of success that I think guys think they have to be at. And on the flip side, a misconception from women, I think, is that a lot of women think that men don't value dating and relationships the way they used to in the past. I think that's a misconception. Obviously, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think men do value dating and relationships. They just handle it differently.
I agree wholeheartedly. As a certified lover, we do love dates. We do love relationships. We love all that. So.
Well, did you have
You
something
say
to
a
say?
certified lover?
Yeah, what does that
Certified
mean?
lover.
Yeah, that's giving Drake. It's
Yeah,
giving
my fault,
Drake. I don't
my
know.
fault,
That
my
was
fault.
giving toxic. I don't know about that.
Not Drake.
Okay.
No, that's a certified lover boy. He said he's a certified lover.
Okay, just encapsulating
general. Yeah,
just
yeah,
love.
yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Okay, so, I see something different. I see that because of the current climate, a lot of times men don't know how to move, right? In my father's generation and back in the 70s and the 80s, men went after women that they wanted. If they saw you, look, I remember being a young cat, and we were like coming from Great Adventures, and look, if you saw a car full of girls, it was like, yo, hey, what's your phone number? I mean, it was just like that. And they would yell back, 373, and it was just like that. But because some people took it too far, now men don't know how to move, right? So that's why you're at the grocery store, or maybe you're at the gym or something, and the guy's just standing there staring. He's not doing anything. He's just standing there staring. And you're like, why is this guy staring at me? Well, he's running through the scenarios in his head. Is she married? Is she in here with somebody? Do I have a shot? And am I bold enough to try? What if she turns me down? So what did I say a confused mind does? Doesn't make a decision. So you turn around and walk away, and you're like, this guy just stood there and stared at me all this time and didn't come over here and say anything because he's in his head. And so that's a lot of the conversation I'm having now with men, is to forget about that, go after what you want. Don't wait for choosing signals and a flip into the hair and none of that. If she's in the room with you, you got a shot.
And I tell women, if you see him staring, you can say, you like what you see? Like, it's okay for us to meet you halfway.
I like that.
Because I'm going to ask you, and you can go from there, you know?
Good. That's
So
good.
are-
That's good. I like that.
So are men, so it becomes a question too, if you're running through all the scenarios of how you should approach a woman, are men just too afraid of rejection?
That's
Because
part of
because
it.
it's like,
Yes, that's part of it. That's
but
part
why?
of it.
But women can be hard. Let me say,
No,
women
they
can
can,
be
yes.
horrible with rejection. Because it's not, we don't just shoot you down, oh, I'm not interested. Why would you think, look at yourself and look at me. Look at yourself and look at me and ask yourself why you think I would entertain you. That's how we shoot people down.
I don't know. I would only disagree with that just because a lot of women, when they are approached by men in public, right, their main thing is like, okay, I don't want to reject him, so I might just give him a number or a fake number, because a lot of men are so fragile with their egos. Excuse me. No, but for real, they're very fragile, and like some women have been killed or
No,
just
that's
like had abuse. So a lot of
That's
women
true.
don't. Now, I think that's a misconception in regards to social media and what you see the gender wars that we play and like the popping the balloon whole trend. I don't think that's an in-person thing. I think if you're approaching in person, most women will just like either she will say no nicely and say thank you though, I have a boyfriend. She'll lie if anything.
You know, and
but
some of them are horrible. Seriously though,
Like
some
in
of them
person,
are
okay.
horrible.
I will say though,
Agree.
I think the underlining thing, whether it's from a man or what it's from a woman, is just vulnerability. I think that we built a culture around not being vulnerable and not putting ourselves in those positions to be vulnerable. Because typically, if it's a man and he sees somebody, it's risk to go over there. And to take that risk, you have to put yourself in a place to be vulnerable. If you're a woman and you see someone you find attractive, it takes risk to go over there and say, what you like? You like what you're staring at? And all that. Like, it's difficult for people. And I think the problem is, when we're...
Because he could be like, no.
It's difficult.
well, maybe that's
but-
not the best first
I was
question.
looking at
don't know.
somebody else.
But
I
I'll say
will
this
tell
real
you,
quick.
I have never had a man say no. I will say that. But no, most of the time they'll go, actually, yes. I think that's just what, I will say from my experience, I haven't had a man shoot me down hard. Like that. They don't do that. They're just
Can I
usually
add that?
You want to add to that?
Yeah, like statistically, there's a higher likelihood of success when women shoot their shot first.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is.
Because let's think about the men who shoot their shot. They have the audacity, right? And what have we learned? What have we learned about men with audacity, right? They're usually shooting their shot at whoever. They're usually just trying to catch something. They're trying to, stroke their ego. They're trying to shoot their shot for not the right reasons. So if we pick the one we like and shoot our shot,
Absolutely.
there's
Yeah,
a higher
I agree.
likelihood of that one working out.
I saw
Just saying.
something that said 85% of when women make the first move, it results in a relationship because you're choosing who you want. You're approaching the type of man that you are interested in. So you already won.
And men are choosing everything. No
But I
offense.
think like one of the things that something to like really acknowledge though is like even when people do shoot their shot and if it does go wrong, because sometimes like men and women you'll shoot and you miss. The problem is like we get rejected once, and then we build a 5-year complex about never getting rejected
No,
again.
yeah.
And I think a lot of
Self-preservation.
people, it's
Keep
like you have that one experience that you go back to, and you constantly remind yourself, this is what happened when I shot my shot, so I'm never gonna do it again, men and women. And I know a lot of people are stuck by that, and I think that goes into like a deeper thing about how we really need to take the time to heal within ourselves and really understand what are the roadblocks and obstacles that are stopping us from actually putting ourselves out there.
I got a scenario too that I just heard when I got in this room. Okay? A man and I was having this conversation, and I asked him what his biggest challenge was in dating, and he said,
Are you staring at him?
Don't call my guy out.
I want to
him
see
on
if he
blast,
wanted to
it's
speak
crazy.
up for himself. But he said, kind of getting past the hurt and just dealing with the hurt, and so it caused him not to shoot his shot again because the last situation didn't work out right. So now it's in his head that maybe I should leave that kind of woman alone and only date this kind.
But I'm veering off here.
Can I-
But yeah, go ahead.
Can
go
I
ahead.
jump in my therapist's bag for a second? Rejection, I think people struggle with rejection because you make it mean something about you.
Agree.
And that's not always the case, okay? Let's stop creating scenarios about worst case scenario. If your brain is gonna create a scenario at all, why not let it be one that's positive and productive? So maybe they shot you down because they got a baby mama at home. Maybe they shot you down because they have life stressors in their way. Maybe they shot you down because they're just not ready yet. Don't make it mean something about you.
Yeah.
And also, rejection is a part of dating. And I think, like, there is no, like, can I take a pill and avoid rejection? No, it's a part of dating. You're going to get rejected sometimes. Sometimes you're going to like somebody and he's going to say, you know, I'm flattered, but, you know, I'm not interested. That's a part of dating. And I think we have to recognize if I'm going to jump in this game and play, that I could be rejected, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You could, like, if I shoot my shot all day, I got like a 85% success rate. I get shot down maybe 15% of the time, but I got an 85% success rate. You know what I'm saying? You just keep shooting.
No, absolutely. Well, I'm going to move on to the next question. Do you guys think that traditional ways of dating are impractical to the modern world?
I'm curious to how y'all define traditional versus modern dating.
Okay,
For
well,
the
that's not on the card. No.
Big question.
Well, I think traditional is what Kelvin was mentioning earlier. I think back in the day, you kind of went with what was convenient and what was around. We have a lot of options today. And then, I don't know, maybe the man did more of the pursuing. The woman kind of sat back and she took care of the household. And there's those like traditional norms that were just set. And so I think now a lot of women and men, like especially women, we're way more independent. Especially if we apply it to dating in Atlanta, we have more women than men. Women statistically are more educated. We are the most homeowners, as far as in the Black community.
Business owners.
Yes, business owners. So I think I even talked about this earlier in a live last week, that when women are approaching dating, they're approaching, okay, if I accept this man advances to wanting to date me, am I willing to depart from my solitude? Because I can provide for myself. I'm cool single. I go with my girls. I have men wanting to take me out all the time. It's not a big
bad perspective. Depart from my solitude.
No, that's peace. It's called peace.
I know what it means, and it's still terrible.
A bad
I mean, it's a negative. Do I have to depart from my peace? Like,
because a lot of men come not peaceful.
But why wouldn't that turn around and say like all the positive things that you would get with a partner, as opposed to depart with your solitude? Like,
and vice versa. I've heard of men say, I actually asked the guy why he doesn't come to more of these like dating events, and he said, why would I pay to go acquire another bill? Apparently we're a bill woman, okay? So it's vice versa. It's vice versa.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to the original question, or we're gonna skip this one. But to answer, like, depart from your solitude, I mean, a lot of men, especially if we're talking about in Atlanta, a lot of men have options. Women, we don't have as many options because maybe there's a standard that we are requiring to date us.
I don't think that's true, but go on.
I don't think it's true either. Okay. I do think, especially in this city, I think in Atlanta, you can have so many options as a woman.
Agreed.
Like, I can literally go to a bar after work, happy hour, and meet like 3 or 4 dudes. Like,
Agreed.
It's not hard. Now, I think what happens is we stay home. We in the house. We don't get out and meet people. And when we do get out, we go with our group of girlfriends, and then nobody's approaching us. So we do things that limit our options.
Agreed.
But if we got out, like I go outside, there are options. They outside.
Plenty of
They
Okay,
want
so
you.
there's
Plenty
options.
of
What about the quality of options?
Quality
you can
over
have,
quality.
you
But
can
there are
have a bunch of options, but
There
it's
are
like,
quality
no,
options.
No,
Like this
maybe,
weekend.
no.
This weekend, I went to the National MBA Black MBA Association. Tons of educated, successful brothers filled the room. I went to the Emerging 100 holiday soiree on Friday. Tons of educated, successful brothers filled the room. There are options in this city.
Yes,
This one right
yes.
here. Now, there are some cities where that might be true, and you might not have educated, successful men. But in this city, I'm gonna rep my city. In this city, we
I
have
love
it.
my city too, but
It's a lot
some
of-
problems. I have a lot of single girlfriends, and I mean, they go out all the time. Like, they go out too much.
Yeah, look, so here's what the problem is. You have to adjust your strategy, right? In some cities, a woman can sit in the corner, wait for a guy to come over there, and the guy comes, right? In this city, you go over and say, hey, I like that outfit.
Exactly.
Those
and
shoes
it works.
are really cool.
Yes.
And you know, you have a good night and you move on, right? It's a subtle way of dropping your handkerchief
Exactly.
and see if he picks it up.
Exactly.
And if he doesn't, you just gave somebody a compliment. Did it hurt you? You see what I'm saying?
So what happens is these girls go out, because I observe, this is what I do. They'll be beautiful, drop dead gorgeous, and they all go out. They come together in a pack of 4 or 5, and they just look cute, and they're taking their pictures, and nobody's approaching you because you're with a crew.
No, man.
So
No,
you
man.
have to go by yourself. That's rule number 1. Go by yourself. And you have to open your mouth when you get there. It's not enough to be cute, because this is Atlanta and it's full of beautiful women everywhere you
Everybody's
go.
cute.
So you can't just be cute when you walk in the room. What else?
Everybody's cute.
Everybody's cute. So what are you gonna do to stand out? Like, I'm gonna walk up to you. Oh, hey, handsome. Oh, you look nice. You smell nice. You looking good. I like your shoes. I like
Thank
your
you.
haircut. I like your beard. I'm gonna compliment you. And next thing you know, you're gonna ask me for my number, and we have a date tomorrow. But if you just walk in looking cute,
It's not enough.
Well, women,
It's not
maybe there's
enough.
a strategy. When you move in a group in public, especially Atlanta, maybe y'all separate and regroup.
you can do it
just
like that.
Just like,
But if you come together in a crew and you stay with your crew the whole
Yeah.
night, nothing's going to happen.
you have something to say.
And
I
you
would-
know, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I would also like, to the question of like the traditional versus modern, I think like traditionally speaking, there was a lot more of a social pressure to get married. I think now, because there's a lot more individualism, it's not that much as a pressure.
Absolutely.
And because there's not that much as a pressure, people go into these situations, they don't know what they need, they don't know what they want, and they're always focused on what the other person is doing. And I think if you don't get to the core of like, what do you need? What are you looking for? What is that's important to you? What are those values? Then when you're dating people, it seems like you're constantly wasting your time because you think that you're emotionally available, but you're really emotionally unavailable because you're not really able to navigate what you actually need and what you want.
I agree.
I agree with you, Nigel. And I also think that marriage is still very important. Like,
Yes.
even though it was, like my mom would say, well, when she graduated from high school, her whole graduating class got married. That doesn't happen today. But I think it's important that I think we should get back to that, because the number one indicator of success is marriage. Like, when you get
Generational
married,
wealth.
y'all can build together. So yes, I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force when we're together.
That's my song. That's my song.
It's important that you It's important that we build together, and we shouldn't be individualistic.
Facts.
All right. So what aspects of modern dating do you think are working well or have improved in recent years?
Women shooting their shot. My clients, is working for them. I myself, it worked for me. Hi, honey. I think that's the more of that I've seen statistically, it has resulted in more relationships when women are stepping out and actually trying to give a compliment, like Kelvin said. You can't get rejected from a compliment. I mean, you could, but it doesn't feel as harsh if you start off nice, start off with a cute little compliment, straight up ask, are you single? That's not scary, right?
Definitely.
Here's my advice to the ladies. This is good. Put yourself in the place where the quality of man that you desire is likely to show up. And you'll be amazed as to what happens.
I do have a question. So a lot of men don't go to dating events. So women, I hosted a speed dating event at Rocksteady on October 2nd, and we had 132 women that signed up for I didn't wait list 90 of them.
Okay.
The week before the event, I had only 10 men. I had to waitlist 90, and then the day of the event, we had it even. I make sure all my events are even with men and women, or I'll cancel the event. We're not doing like 100 women mingling with 10 men. We're not doing that. So how do we it's not a problem for women going to dating events. They like stepping out and going out of their way, having another event to get dressed up to. It's the men that do not come to these events.
We're a bill, remember? They don't want to
But
require
that's
more
the
bills.
thing, like, it's conceptually acceptable for men to not get rejected at these events. You guys both paid the same ticket
generally
price.
nobody gets rejected because everybody showed up for the same reason,
That's what
to
I'm
meet
saying.
somebody.
But I had an A/B test and I interviewed men. I'm like, why would you not come to a speed dating event? They assumed that it was a red balloon popping. They did not want to have to compete. I don't know why they assumed that. They did not want to have to compete for women. They thought it was some sort of competition between other men. They were afraid of rejection. And they're like, they thought speed dating was very taboo. They're like, oh, that I haven't seen that since the movies. Like, I'm not going to that. Or a lot of guys, when I approached them at Twin Peaks, and because I'm looking for men, I'm scouting for men, that's where they go. Some of the places they go, they would say, I don't need any help. They think it's a cry for help to go to those types of events. So how can we get men to get to these spaces? Because now the men, our feedback from the event, it was majority men saying the quality of women at this event were there, but they're not showing up. I literally have to pull teeth.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I think, and I like that idea, right? Allowing women to come into the spaces that men are already in. I think that works. But I think the deeper issue when it comes to men is just the amount of emotional availability that men have. I think like when we talk about emotions, a lot of men run away from emotions because we were taught that leaning into those emotions make you weak, make you vulnerable. So it's like a lot of times men only really get those opportunities to really be vulnerable after intimacy, when somebody's holding them and they're cuddling and pillow talk and all that. And I think normally a lot of men don't get that. So it trickles out or ripples out into like the relationships, the day-to-day. It's like, I don't need to go into this single event not understanding like you do have a core need of wanting and want to be in love and finding a person and finding a partner. So I think like in the core, it takes a level of willingness, but you have to get a man to really be willing to explore his own emotions. And I think that's where like therapy works, or that's where getting them into spaces where there's like-minded men and you have a safe space to be able to express your emotions and talk about it. So I think it's really getting to the core of men and allowing them to be a lot more open and vulnerable with their own emotions.
I agree.
Yeah, but that sound all good. That sound all beautiful. But that's not helping them to know where. The question was, how do we get the men to come to the spaces, or where's the spaces, or like that was a beautiful soliloquy you just gave. But that
Nigel now, don't. All right.
yeah. I must with PhD.
Yeah, well, this is what I do to answer that question. So when I have my events, I usually post the women who are going to be there, like sell the eye candy, because it's eye candy. So I'll post like, oh, this beautiful woman is coming to the event. And it's like, ooh, she's coming. I want to see her. I want to meet her. So I kind of lure them with because one of the things that they tell me, what kind of women are going to be there? Are they all going to be overweight? Are they all going to be old? Are they all going to be like whatever? They want to know that I'm going to have some baddies in the space, right? So I have to acknowledge, like, no, because in their mind, the only women that are going to be there are women that they don't desire. So they want to know, is it going to be the level of attraction there?
Yeah,
right?
men assume that like women go to these events because they're desperate.
Exactly.
Okay, so do you guys think dating apps are an effective way to date? Why or why not?
I'm gonna say yes, jump in. I'm a matchmaker, y'all know I help people find love, so obviously I do offer my services, but dating apps is the number one way that people meet, like period, across the board. People meet on these dating apps. I know you're gonna say, well, they all trash, but it's about how to vet people on the apps. There is a way. So like, you need to have quality pictures, like, not just headshots, full body shots. Let them see what they're working with. I would say get professional pictures. Make sure your profile pops, and then it's the way that you present yourself. Some people, I look at people's profiles for a living, and I give people feedback. Some people's profile is so negative. Don't DM me if you this and that, and don't don't put stuff like that. Be positive. Show pictures of you having fun, things that you like to do, so they already know what they're getting into when they meet you. But the quality of pictures is, I'm telling you, it makes a big difference. But you can find quality men on dating apps. I have myself found quality men on dating apps. I know it's possible. I would say yes, dating apps work, but you need to also vet the person. I think a lot of times we don't know how to vet people, and we're always looking at superficial qualities. Like, let's just be honest. I mean, you looking for the abs, you looking for 6 feet tall, you looking for, okay, everybody's on him, okay? He's a hoe. Look for this man. I'm just being honest. Look for the man, look for quality, look for character traits that this is gonna be a good family man. This is gonna be a man that's gonna tell you the truth. He ain't running around the streets. Look for quality and characteristics. Don't just be looking at, does he have washboard abs? Because what is that gonna do for you? Okay.
I agree with most of it. I agree. I do think dating apps are a great way to meet people because it's not about the app itself. It's about getting people in front of you that you wouldn't otherwise see. Like, you are sitting at your work desk for 8 hours a day. You are hanging in, especially women, in female-dominated industries. I mean, yay us, but like, we're not around men all the time. So I think the dating apps put the men in our face, and then you get off the app. That's what I tell my clients. Get off the app as quickly as you can. Have a great little conversation. Great, here's my phone number. Let's plan something for next Friday at 8. It needs to be like quickly getting off the app. I think people are spending too much time playing games in the messages. On to the next. Just get off the app, I would say. So find them on the app, then get off. Yeah.
I definitely love the dating apps. Never in human history have you had so many options and ways to meet people that could be a great fit for you. I got a friend of mine who met her husband on one of the, maybe BLK.
Yeah, I love BLK. Yeah.
Huh?
I love BLK.
Okay. Yeah. So she met on there, and they lived like 4 miles from each other. Same age. It just so happens one of them like small towns where there's only one high school, and just so happens that she went to one high school and he went to the other. They're the same age. Normally they would have met if they went to the same high school, but they didn't. And so they went away to college, came back, and boom, they met on the app. And she never met this guy, and they lived so close, maybe like 1.5 miles. And she never met him, never run into him, and then boom, they have a family now. Got 2 kids and a dog and a white picket fence and all of that. So you never know.
Yeah, I think to piggyback off everybody saying, like, I agree. It's really great. And I think what Ibby said, the intentionality that you bring to the apps is the most important aspect. Because I think going back to your original point of illusion of choice, this is where a lot of people can lose themselves because they can continuously keep swiping. Like, oh, this person's not good enough. Next person. And you'll continuously do that and continuously be single. So I think you really have to be intentional with how you're using these apps. And if you don't have that intentionality, that's where I feel like it goes into the bad place of like, this is where it's not beneficial.
Absolutely, and I'm going to plug in Switch. Switch is a live audio speed dating app, okay? We are launching in January, okay? The whole point of Switch is bringing that intentionality that you were mentioning and having a live audio conversation first. So you're still going to get some photos, but you're not going to get full access to that profile until after said conversation. Then you decide to match. So y'all make sure y'all sign up for the waiting list.
I want to hear more about Switch at some point.
Yeah, we're going to have time for that. I want to get to the rest of these questions. We're going to have time for that for the mix and mingle after this. So what do you think are some of the most common reasons that relationships aren't lasting and aren't making all the way, and they're not making it all the way to marriage?
I think we talked about that earlier about not having the stick-to-itiveness, not putting in the effort, because in this society, it's cool to be cold-blooded. It's cool to be a savage. So it's not cool to be vulnerable. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't care. You can go. I'm not even going to cry. Like, that's cool. You get a badge of honor for that. But fight for it if it's worth it. Like, it's okay to say, I want to do whatever it takes to make this work. And I don't think we have enough examples of that makes it cool to say that. And so it's just like, oh, I don't have to settle for this. I'm out. But this is a good person. This is somebody you could work on. This is one little thing y'all can work on. What is it? You want him to call you more? You want him to text you more? That's easy. You don't have to step away from that. You don't have to end this relationship because of that. I think we make everything a red flag, too, in modern dating. It's like, oh, he had on brown shoes with a black shirt, and that's a red flag because he should just know what color shoes to wear with this outfit. Or he's chewing too hard. He should know, it's like silly things. Or she's missing a side tooth. I don't know. But we have all these different reasons for why we think this person is not a good fit or why they're a red flag, and it's not a real red flag. And so we have a lot of these little buzzwords, oh, he's a narcissist because all he was doing was talking about himself. And that's not what a narcissist is. But so we have all these things, these buzzwords that make everything toxic. Everything is bad. Everything is, and it's not. and I think we need a reality check on what is sustainable and what's not, and then being vulnerable enough to work through the situations.
What was the question?
Well-
why are relationships not lasting?
Yes, and
Okay.
what do you think are some of the most common reasons?
Okay, I think it's easy to plan a future when you have the rose-colored glasses on. So everything's all peachy, creamy, and everything's just wonderful, and then you don't know how to navigate when you get to that period of conflict. And that period of now we have different communication styles, different attachment styles, different love languages. Now everything's conflicted, and rather than figuring out how do we work through this, you're just trying to get back to that space from the rose-colored glasses. Rather than seeing what you have now, how do we work through this rather than call it quits? I think it's just a lot easier now to call it quits. Paradox of choice. So I think that would be the main reason. People are not sticking it through.
I want to say lack of vision. You know, that scripture said, without vision, the people perish. They perish because there's no focus on where we're going, right? So part of the conversation in the dating phase has to be, where are we going? What is the reason for us coming together? And if you can't find that, then that's not the right person, okay? But I always like the idea of them, like you going up. You're going up. Let's say you're going up a hill, and you're a person who likes to climb. Two people like to climb. They are climbers anyway, right? So it's easier to go up the hill with somebody who's a climber already, as opposed to trying to make somebody a climber. So now you got to drag them uphill, and it's hard enough to drag yourself uphill than to have to drag somebody else uphill. So I think being in alignment with vision. Your grandparents stayed together because they were in alignment with vision. They didn't have any money. They lived in a house that maybe they built with their own hands, right? But they had vision. They said, you know what? We're going to raise this family and we raise these kids, and we're going together. And they stayed together because of vision.
I think to add on to that, I would say like people just don't know where they came from too. I think when I think about a lot of relationship dynamics, especially when we talk about love, we grew up in chaos. Chaos is familiar to us. We don't know what peace is. We don't know what safety is. We don't know what any of that looks like in practice. And going back to the tools, we don't have the tools to equip ourselves to be able to navigate it. So we find what's familiar to us. The arguing, the I hate you, I love you, I hate you again. Like we gravitate towards that because it's what we know. But when it comes to like safety, peace, calm, all of that is boring because we never experienced it. Or it's scary because we don't know how to like maintain that. So I think being able to really identify where you came from, how did that shape you? How did that change the way that you look at love? How does your parents' love or your environment, how they viewed love, how did that really influence you? And I think that's how you can really start to build that vision for a focus for what you're looking for and what you're doing. Because I think a lot of us, we just lose ourselves in that.
To your point, a lot of us don't have examples of healthy relationships in our parents, so we never saw it. Maybe some people's grandparents weren't healthy. And a lot of times we glamorize grandparents' relationships. My grandparents didn't have a healthy relationship. My granddad got married 5 times. My grandmama was married twice. I didn't see that, you know. So if I didn't see that, and then my parents didn't have that, then I don't know what it looks like. And so now I have to create that. And where am I going to get the tools to create that? What examples am I going to have? And I think a lot of times we need therapy. We have to heal from our trauma. If you grew up in an abusive household, or you grew up in a household where there was sexual trauma or whatever, you need to heal from that so that you can create this healthy relationship. But a lot of times we haven't even seen an example of what healthy relationships look like.
Were you going to add something, Abby? Okay, go. All right. What are some more productive ways to approach dating going forward?
I would say put down the battle shields and open your heart. So lead with your hopes, not your fears. I think a lot of us are leading with fear, and we're treading very lightly, and it's just not working. So trying to open up a little bit more. Obviously, you want to protect your heart. You don't want to have people stomping all over it, but trying to be vulnerable in different ways. If that means like, if you're used to shutting down, or if you're used to not texting first, try the opposite action. What can I do differently than I'm used to doing? And see if that helps you open up a little bit more.
Yep. And then also, I think women get a bad rap these days. This whole femininity movement makes us feel like we don't know how to be women. You know, sometimes it's like, well, do you? And I think, like, I'm very assertive, but also, obviously I'm a business owner, right? So I have to be assertive, but that's not a bad thing. It's not bad to be assertive. And I'm an extrovert. I tend to attract introverts. So I gotta nudge them along, you know, and that's okay. They need it. But I don't do it overbearingly, you know, or, I'm not aggressive. And I'm also very submissive, but I'm gonna do it in my way as a boss babe, right? So I think that sometimes we get a bad rap. I think in the modern dating, it's this whole like femininity, soft girl movement. What does that look like when you are an entrepreneur, when you are a hard worker and you're a boss? What does that look like? I think you can balance and be both. And I think sometimes you gotta kind of nudge these dudes along, you know, my boyfriend is not a talker, you know, so I have to kind of, hey, we're gonna talk today, or, you know, whatever. And then when I nudge him, it opens him up, and then he talks more. So I think that's okay.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get to the Q&A.
I think someone had something to say over there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one
Oh,
more thing.
I am so sorry.
Yeah, no,
I'm
you're
so
good, you're
sorry.
good. I was just gonna say, just give yourself grace too. I think that's really important. Dating in general is just challenging. It just is. And I think a lot of times we try to find a quick and easy solution, but at the end of the day, it's challenging. It's just like being grown and trying to find new friends. It's hard. Sometimes you go to the right places, sometimes you go to the wrong places. But give yourself grace during the process, because the more that you work towards it, the more that you have a healthier relationship with yourself, the healthier it'll be for you to navigate it and understand what's for you and what's not for you. So I would definitely recommend really just taking care of you, giving yourself that grace, giving yourself that love that you're looking for, and then it'll cultivate when it needs to.
Yeah, I was going to say that that self-love is everything, right? Don't expect someone to come and fill your emotional cup. You got to come with something in the cup, okay? The other person should just be somebody who comes and just top off the cup. They shouldn't have to put everything into the cup. Why? Because if they do, now it's them, and they are everything, and everything is them. And sometimes people can feel that and take advantage of that, right? And so you don't want to be in that kind of position. So you have to fill your own cup. Do the things, all the things, you know, meditation, all the things. Journaling has been tremendous for me, right? A practice of journaling, not just do some journaling, but a practice of thinking about what you're thinking about. It's been powerful. And so it tremendously, do your own work, show up with your own work done, and it makes everything so much easier.
I agree. All right, so we're gonna go ahead into audience Q&A. So we're gonna go based on whoever raised their hand first with their questions ready. I have Rachel coming around with the mic. All right.
Hi, my name is Ms. Nookie. I'm a certified love coach and sexuality educator. I recently moved to Atlanta about 3 years ago. So one thing I've noticed, I feel like the dating playing fields are uneven because there are a plethora of coaches for women. So women, we're stepping our game up. We know what we're looking for. We know what we want, but there aren't that many male coaches out there to level up the men. Because I have a lot of male friends come to me for everything. But, you know, as a woman, I know it's hard for men who don't know me, or, you know, any of you ladies up there, it's hard for men to trust you to help them be vulnerable, like Nigel? Yeah, like how Nigel said. So I just wanted to know, what are you guys doing for the male population? Do you have programs in place to help them to be on the level of us? Because naturally, you know, women, we're gonna pour into us, we're gonna do the work and stuff, but there's just a disconnect, an unevenness with women prepared for love in comparison to men.
I want to piggyback quickly to say, So I have male clients as well, but I think it's different because my clients are higher earners, right? So when men come to me, they're ready for their wives, and so they're willing to do all the work. Because my program, before I match you, you're meeting with therapists. I do dating coach. I have a sex therapist. I have a regular therapist. So they're willing to do all the work. So I want to say that there are men who are willing to do the work to find love. And I think we have to be more intentional about that, right? Because what I find when I do see men on social media who are in this space, they pander to the women. Like, they're like, well, if he doesn't do da-da-da-da-da, he's not worthy. But they're not saying what he should be doing.
Yes.
Right. So that's what I usually see. But that's what sells. So they do that because women are flocking to but now they have 1 million followers, and then they can just make some lip gloss and women are buying it. You know what I mean? That's what typically happens, to be honest. You know, you've seen the type.
Yeah. So I can speak to this. I actually do have men's groups online. So here's the thing. Also understand that everything you see on social media is because of the algorithm. If you're not a man, they're not going to show you things that they show men, okay? You're not going to see dating things that are geared towards men because they know what you like, they know who you are. They know more about you than your mama does, okay? So understand that, like, you may not see male dating coaches, but there are a plethora of them. They just don't come across your timeline.
To piggyback off that, I think to your point, like, it's 100% valid, and I don't think there's enough spaces, you know what I mean? And I think men do have safe spaces, but the ways in which we look for safety are a lot different. So like going to the barber shop is a safe space. Going to the gym is a safe space. But when we talk about, again, like these emotional conversations, we don't necessarily have that. So I can start like from myself personally, like I have a Black males book club, and we read a lot of books that are like based about love and relationships and healing. But even that is not enough, because when I put it out and advertise, I don't get that many men who are like, ooh, I'm down, I really want to read this. And majority of the people who join it, they're typically like, wow, I've never thought about love in this way. This is different. And it just goes to show there's a need for more spaces, and I think that's something that, for myself, like I want to do more to create more space for men to have that, to talk about it.
Okay, I'll go. I cater my coaching services specifically to women who have cycled through manipulation, toxic relationships, situationships. But in terms of therapy, I do have some male clients. But the male clients who come to me the most, the clients I have now, they are all white males. I'm not saying that that means anything about our Black brothers here, but the ones who seek out therapy for me end up being white males.
Rachel? Oh, okay.
Hey, what's up? How you guys doing?
Hey.
What's up?
Hey, I'm Alex Jean-Baptiste. Nice to meet all of you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here, first of all. This is a question for both of the men on the stage, right? In dating different women, hearing their interactions with other men, it's just honestly been comical from the perspective of myself, because I feel like when I'm around my brothers, there is a deprogramming of our mind that needs to happen because of our, what's the word I'm looking for? We care for sexual appetite more than anything else. We look at women as objects, as bodies, and then we lead with that in our conversations, in our first engagements. And then I feel like that is a detriment, right? And then as I've done a different approach, I've found a lot more success in that way. So I'm curious, like yourself, you started a book club where men are experiencing love in a different way. What do you guys think is a way that we can essentially continue with solutions like that?
I think creating space to expand masculinity, I think how masculinity is viewed, to the point that you're saying, is like from a sexual standpoint, or it's like it keeps us in a box. And I think we have to be able to expand that, because I think what a lot of men end up doing is they try to follow this idea of what it means to be a man. And then when we look at our role models of what it means to be a man, a lot of times it's not to cry, not to share your feelings, to be strong, to be rich, to be the provider. And there's a lot of Black men who deal with trauma by trying to get rich, and that's their only focus, and that's the only way that they're learning how to heal, because they feel like if I have all this money, then all the problems go away, just to get rich, and realize they don't. So I think being able to really take the time to expand masculinity and give space for people to feel, men to feel how they feel. Are you happy? Cool. Are you sad? Cry. It's okay. The more that we're able to do that is the more we are able to teach younger people and create space for the people beside us to feel comfortable by doing that. So like in the book club, when we first start, the first conversation is very, very dry. What do you guys think love is? What is your experience of love? And everybody's like, my mom. Like, my mom taught me how to love. She loves me, right? But then the more that we dive deeper into these conversations, the more they expand, the more they grow, and the more that they're saying, okay, this is how I see love. This is how I view love. So I think it really is getting to a space where we expand that idea of masculinity.
I'll take that too. I think, at least from things that I've heard from friends, I think a lot of men don't know what questions to ask. So, I mean, sex for them, like you said, was one of the main priorities when dating. So I think that's why they lead with that, because that's their immediate go-to with questions. Like for my friends, they say, like, he was so boring, he didn't know how to have a conversation. I think if we just start there, if guys can start asking the right questions, and being able to express their sense of humor a little bit easier and ask women the right questions where you're a conversationalist, I think that's the most important thing. I think a lot of men don't know what to ask, don't know how to lead a conversation, and then ultimately just not getting to that connection part. So yeah, that's my main feedback for that.
Okay, so there's a quote that I heard one time that said, "A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." Okay? A man has to desire to do more or to go in a direction. You can't make him, you can't do anything. All we can do is provide the space for him to do so. Some will and some won't, okay? It's not for me, as somebody who works with men, I tell them, it's not for me to tell you what to do. Now, I'm gonna give you some options. I'm going to, if you just want to be a Smashzilla, I can't really help you with that. I'm not gonna necessarily support that. But if you want to go in a positive direction and you want to meet somebody real, and you're ready to get real with this, then I can help you with that. And so also, like, in the space of, let's say, like YouTube and platforms like that, guys have to be willing, guys who do this work, right, have to be willing to say the thing whether you're going to get the views or not. You know, because everything is view heavy. If you say women ain't then there's a population of guys that can be like, yeah, I'm going to hit the click for that. Then that's money, you see? But I've got a few guys who do YouTube and do the platforms, and they don't care if they get views. They're there for the dispelling of the info. And those that need it will get it. And the beauty is that somebody 10 years from now might get it when they need it.
Also, I want to piggyback, even though your question was to the guys, because I think your foundation that it's men that care about sex and that women don't, or men care about sex more. I don't agree with that. First of all, I will say, like, I'm highly sexual. If I meet a man and he's shy about talking about sex, I'm like, okay, we're not sexually compatible, because I need to know if you like it and how you like it and when you like it and how much. Like, I need to know that. That's the question I really need to know. Because if you're gonna be, if you tell me, oh, I don't like to talk about it, then I already know you're not gonna be good at it, because you can't even talk about it. So I want to say that it's not a masculine thing. That's not a male thing. I think there are people who are sexual, highly sexual, and there are people who are not. And it's about finding people who are compatible to you. If that's important to you, you don't need to hide it. You don't need to pretend that you're somebody you're not. It's about finding the lid for your pot. That's one of my books. So it's about finding someone who is compatible to you, who also enjoys sex and who also enjoys having conversations about it. You know what I mean? I don't think, and it has nothing to do with you just being a man. It's just that you're highly sexual, and that's okay. And I think in this society, we become othered. It's like, oh, something's wrong with you because you like it. It's normal, and it's natural, and it's okay.
I think we also live in like a hypersexual, like modern dating world. So I don't think it's an issue. Like women want sex, if not more, than men. I don't think that's the issue. I think men can easily talk themselves out of sex because they're leading with sex right off top. So if a woman, you're not making her feel comfortable if you're like, so what you got on? Like, well, ask me how my day was first, maybe, and like we can get into that. And a woman has no problem talking about sex, and it's just like get your flirt game up. You can just flirt. You can slip it in easier, but just not. I didn't mean to. Say
No
it like
pun
that.
intended.
Yeah, no, I was like, no pun. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, everyone made it fast. I was like, damn. You can slip it in easier. Just get your flirt game up. And you take from that whatever.
Slip it in easier. Is that what you said?
That's what she said.
I didn't mean to
That's
come
what she
off like
said.
that, but you guys know what I mean. Okay. Do we have another question queued up?
Hi, my name is Tawana, not a coach or anything. I'm just trying to learn stuff. So thank you guys for the conversation. Do you think that attachment styles are a reason that early relationships end sooner? And if so, when should you have that conversation with someone that you're dating?
I know, Ibby, that's your area of expertise.
Listen, you got it.
Yes and no. So yes, I do think it's an issue in how things are not lasting long, especially when there are the avoidant attachments going on. Especially the anxious avoidant pairing seems to be one that's the most common, and it's the one that has the most conflict. So I think in not knowing your attachment style and not knowing your partner's attachment style and not knowing how they need to be reassured or catered to, or they need their space, it can create conflict without knowing. But I also think that then when people put a label on it, they're like, oh, I'm avoidantly attached and I get a pass, or I'm anxiously attached and I get a pass. So I think it's healthy to know, so you can ask for what you want. Like, oh, I just need reassurance. Oh, I just need you to let me know if you're gonna be out late. Or, oh, I just need my space today, because you're smothering me. Don't say that part. But I just need my space today. I think it's helpful to know, but not to like, you know how people are with like the signs and stuff. Oh, I'm a Gemini. So just don't like make it your whole personality, but it's good to know and good to, I would say, maybe not super early on, but if you notice it becoming a thing, like you guys are becoming something, like, hey, I just want to let you know that I might need X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I would pivot a little bit from what you said. I do think it's a conversation you can have early on. Like I think, so for me, I like to talk about astrology. I like to talk about attachment styles. I like to talk about love languages. I do all those things in our early parts of dating, because this is how you can learn. Dating is gathering information. It's gathering data, right? So this is all data that you need to collect on your potential mate. So it's understanding their attachment style, understanding their love language, understanding how they were raised, right? That's just data that you need. You need that early. You need to start having these conversations. And then what does that look like? So if you're anxious, because if you are anxious attachment style, people might say you're clingy, and what does that look like? What would you need to Ibby's point? How can I support you? Because that doesn't mean I can't be with you. I just need to understand what you need, and you need to understand what I need.
Yeah, I've seen it. I said not so early on because I've seen it go wrong where someone said it and the other person counted them out immediately, like, oh, I've dealt with this type before. So I think when you're building something is why I say that, because like first date, second date, like you might not. Maybe you're working on those things by yourself, have your accountability partners, your therapist, but then when it starts to become like, okay, now we're on date 3, now we're on like kind of feeling each other, that's why I mentioned that.
Yeah, and I also think that person who just X'd you out because they knew your attachment style was probably just not the right person. He's an a-hole, right? He's a jerk.
It was a client.
Because if I tell you I'm a Capricorn, he or she. Because if I tell you I'm a Capricorn and you go, I don't date Capricorns, or I tell you I have a secure attachment style, I don't date them, something's wrong with you. And so let's just be honest. And whether you know that when you first meet me or 5 dates in, if you're going to X me out because of that without having a full understanding of what that means, I think it's on you.
Also mentioning how you're working on it. So if you're gonna say, oh, I'm a fearful avoidant, okay, what are you doing about it? Don't just leave it there.
Right.
Like, actually, this is what I'm doing. I'm not just stuck here. You know,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, and don't make it sound so heavy. Like nobody's signing up for a job to be with you. Okay? Don't make it sound like, oh boy, she gonna need me to call her 10 times a day. It's like, just don't make it sound
Yeah.
so much.
So needy, yeah.
Yeah, so needy.
All right, we have a question in the back.
Oh, dang, okay. So my question is generally about what degree or level of quote unquote healed do you have to be in order to pursue a relationship or whatnot, because we've talked about in the context of men needing to have the money. Well, maybe I don't have the money, but I'm on the way up. Or, maybe there's other aspects to where I'm not holistically 100% put together, but I could be good enough, quote unquote. But then my thought also is, if you're in a relationship, you're supposed to be growing and moving towards a purpose together. So if I'm 100%, right, and I'm doing my thing, then how do I bring someone else necessarily into that? So the general concept is, how do you know you're ready, whether that's healed or emotionally, financially, all the various things?
I don't think there's ever a point where you're going to be 100% ready. No one's 100% like top tier, I'm ready, I'm healed. No one's 100% healed. I think also when you're dating, we've already said a couple times that like dating is research, it's learning. I think people, I don't think you realize what triggers you until it does. So you are not going to learn that until you experience that within that said relationship or while going through the course of dating. And then you're like, oh, I thought I kind of healed from that. I thought I was good. Maybe not. I think you're always on that journey of like healing and making yourself better. And I think that's a misconception of like, oh, I'm ready. This is when I'll be ready, when I make 100K, when I have dental health insurance, like all this other stuff, right? Like that's not a thing. I think people should approach dating as an experience, and especially when you guys are talking about like, oh, I need to have a certain amount of income. Just budget once a month. Go, if you see a girl, you ask her on a date, schedule. It's the intent of scheduling and the effort. And you like, hey, I can only date once a month, or at least the ones that cost where I have to plan dinner, whatever, movies, whatever, that, do that and let it be an experience for yourself and just go from there. Like, I don't think you have to be 100% all buttoned up.
I want to speak on the healing piece just quickly. Reflect on your previous relationships. Like, a lot of times people have patterns. Like, they're dating the same type of person over and over, or I keep attracting, everybody keeps cheating on me. Let's look at what we might be doing. Let's look at what we might be putting out there. Because I think a lot of times we don't reflect on our previous relationships. There are lessons that you can learn in your previous relationships, and that speeds up your healing, right? Because when you evaluate, everybody brought to you is a lesson. Did you learn the lesson? If you didn't learn the lesson, you're gonna have to repeat the class. All right, so if you take the time to evaluate, what did I learn from this? What did I do well? What could I have done better? You will see that you will grow. And the next person is like, you can say, you know what? I chose a good person. This didn't work out, but she wasn't toxic. She didn't beat on me. I've made some improvements, right? You can see your growth when you take the time to evaluate, what did you do right? What could you have done better? Because if not, you're just gonna keep repeating the same thing over and over.
I would also add to that, as far as I think the misconception with healing is that you're healing to get to a certain place. And I think healing is learning to love yourself even at the worst. And I think a lot of people, because they're not willing to love themselves at the worst, they're healing, but they're displacing the responsibility of healing in other things. So to your point is like, I'm gonna heal to this point, and then if I find a relationship, then that confirms that I actually did the healing, which is not the truth. So I think it's like the ability to heal is really to learn how to love yourself at that worst place, at that place where you don't have the car, you don't have the rings, you don't have everything. Like, what do you have in your life that matters, that's important, and learning how to cultivate healing and love with that will help radiate to other people. And I think people who are willing to see the best in you are going to see the best in you even at your worst. Like I have multiple times in my life where if I hold up a mirror, I'm cussing out that mirror, I'm talking down. But if I go outside and I talk to some of my friends in the audience who have even told me like, bro, like you still him. Like, what are you talking about? Like we still love you, you know what I mean? So it's being able to learn how to love yourself at that lowest stage.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry. I keep interrupting.
Let me just say, I met this African guy one time, and he asked me. He says, you know, there's something that I just been wanting to ask a African American guy. Can I ask you a question? You're a dating coach. I was like, sure. He said, how come Americans are always healing? He said, like, enough with the healing. When you gonna be healed? He said, how come Americans are always on a journey somewhere and they never gonna get to healing and they're always healing? And I mean, when he said that, I just sat with that for a minute. Like, at some point in time, you have to just live. You just have to live. And those who resonate with you, boom, go that way. Those that don't, it's okay, right? So don't get too hung up on listening to all these podcasts. This is a great podcast. Watch this one, right? But don't get too hung up on all of this talk online about you not feeling like you said something. You said something, my man, about like not being enough yet. Or something like that. Man, listen, let me tell you something. You are always enough. I don't care what state you're in. You are always enough.
Yep.
You may not be enough for her, but guess what? You might be enough for her. But the question is, are you enough for you?
Yeah.
That's what matters. So you work on being enough for you. I don't care if you work at McDonald's and you know, on the drive-through line, right? If that's enough for you, and if you're happy with you, that's all that matters.
I just want to say real quick, because I do agree with you. I think one of the problems, though, when we talk about healing, is we think that healing and living cannot coexist. It's one or the other. You can do both at the same time.
Yeah.
So I agree with what you're saying,
Simultaneously.
but I think it's simultaneous. You can live and you can heal.
Yep, and I think a good exercise with that, because I want to make this applicable and practical, is to evaluate. Everybody needs to know. I hate the question of what do you bring to the table. I really do. But I think you really need to know what it is that you bring to the table. I think everybody needs to, and it's beyond materialistic stuff. We're not talking about, oh, I got this kind of car and I got this kind of house and I got this much in the bank. But what qualities do you bring to a relationship? I'm a good listener. I'm a great communicator. I'm an effective communicator. I can hear something that you say one time and you never have to tell me again. I'm going to remember that that's your favorite food or that's your, like, what are those things? Because those are, when you understand those qualities that you bring, you always have those. That's always you. That's you. You know that that's your magic. And we all have a magic. We all have magic that we bring to relationships. I know how to make people feel good. What is that? Like, what are the things that you have that are non-tangible that you bring to the table? You can make somebody laugh. You can make somebody smile. You're a good friend. Like, what are those things? Everybody needs to know those things because that's what you're bringing. So when you know that, it's not a dollar amount that you need to have. It doesn't matter if you have $5. You're a good friend. You're a good listener. You know that you're loyal. You know if somebody tells you something, they can count on you to keep a secret. Like those kinds of things, you need to know that that's your value because that's something that even if I leave you, I won't have. If I leave you, I'm gonna miss that part. I'm gonna miss the fact that, he makes me laugh. If I have a bad day, I can call him. He's always there. Like those are the things. You gotta know that if you walk out of my life, that's fine. You have a choice. But I know I have this. I know I brought you this. Does that make sense?
Those were all great answers.
We had one, you wanted to tee
I was just
that
going to
up?
say, if you constantly find that you're pushing the goalpost forward for yourself, every time you think you're healed and then you're not, look into your attachment style. Thank you for bringing that up. Avoidantly attached people are almost never ready. They always find a reason why it's not going to work. They're going to sabotage. It's not working. Oh, I'm not ready. I thought I was ready. look into that because you might be sabotaging yourself. So just wanted to say that.
All right, do we have one more question? Okay. Well, I'm sorry, I pointed in the same direction, and y'all are like in the same line. Who wants? Okay, sorry.
Hello, my name is Devontae. Back into the attachment styles. So a lot of people don't know their attachment styles, and they don't know the right questions to ask about what their attachment styles and what they want. So what I've learned in my marriage is that I'm a dismissive avoidant. So for you all, do you all have clients or people that you've spoken with who are dismissive avoidant, and what advice have you given them to kind of get past that barrier? I've had luck because of my wife, because she's a therapist herself, and this is her focus, so I've been able to like push past that. But what are you all doing to help people who are dismissive avoidant?
And can you explain that for everybody else so everybody knows what that is?
That's kind of
or you want to give it
embarrassing
back to your
like
wife to do, or however you want to do it?
It's a little vulnerable, but hey. All right, so yeah, it's okay. Growing up, I became very independent and I depended on myself. I became very emotionally distant, and it's always been an issue with whatever relationship I've been in. But prior, it's just been an issue. I don't know what it was. It was just like an innate thing where I fend for myself. I didn't need anybody else. I always wanted to, I love love too, but to accept it was always an issue. So getting past that, I always knew something was wrong, but trying to get past it was always an issue. And again, with my wife, this is her focus on dismissive avoidance. She's been able to like push it and like pull it out of me. And that is usually the issue, that we have to have somebody pull it out of us, because we can try to do the work, but if there's not an outside influence that's putting the work in with us, it's a lot more difficult, if that makes sense. Oh.
I agree. That's what I'm studying with my PhD. I've been interviewing people who were formerly dismissive avoidant and are now securely attached. And the number one thing I found is through connection with others is how they healed their attachment style. So they thought initially that they have to heal by themselves, figure it out by themselves, isolate, be independent, but they learned through attachment with others, letting that wall down and finally just being vulnerable. Yes, there's a risk, but you have to be willing to take that risk sometimes. So I would say that.
And so what is that, just so I'm clear, so in relationships, these are people that they just give up and they're just like, I'm going through a lot, I need some space, I need some time to myself.
They minimize the importance of relationships. It's very much, I can fend for myself, keep you at an arm's distance, I got this. And if one thing goes wrong, they're out of there, yeah.
Okay, we have a couple more audience questions.
So I'm a psychologist. I like that you guys are bringing in attachment styles, but can you just kind of walk through the main ones?
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't familiar with it, and it's a huge problem that I see.
Sure, yeah. I'll start with anxiously attached. So these people often need reassurance. Sometimes they're known as clingy. I don't like that word, but they just want to be loved. I would say, some great lovers are anxiously attached people. They just want to be loved. Maybe they have some abandonment wounds and they don't know how to navigate that, so they're constantly seeking from other people. Then we have dismissive avoidant, which is that far end on the other side, who, like we talked about, fend for myself, I got this, hyper independent. In the middle of that, we have fearful avoidant, who kind of is both. They are anxious and avoidant. So there's that push-pull, like I want love, but oh my gosh, that triggered me, let me step back. It's that push-pull that I see a lot of people have, that one for sure. And then securely attached, that is when you are open to love. You are open to the risk. You get shut down, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna try again because I'm not gonna make it mean something about me. So those are the four main ones, the only ones. But I see that people typically, the anxious avoidant combination, fearful avoidant, is the number one that I see.
All right, well, that wraps our evening. Thank you guys so much. Let's give a round of applause for the amazing panelists tonight. Thank you guys.